Hey everyone, Kren here. Normally we do pretty lighthearted videos, and while this one still has plenty of humor and the goofiness we always bring, it's also dealing with some uncomfortable subjects. I refuse to say this is political because I don't think politics involve human rights. But I will say that since we're looking at Hermione Granger and the Harry Potter series at large, we're also going to have to touch on the author. If that's not your cup of tea, I get it. No hard feelings, you can skip this one. We'll see you next month for Kiki. Still here? Good. We've got lore, crazy calculations, and more waiting for you. Let's talk about Hermione. Welcome to Monster Menagerie, brought to you by the Paladin Archives. My name is Mason Kren. Mason is my title, Kren is my name. This is the show where we bring you monsters from around fiction, break them down, and see how the Paladin Order might respond to their threat. We started off our series with vampires, then last year moved on to demons, and now we're looking at the best witches modern fiction can give us. We've done the Wicked Witch of the West, Bayonetta, Luz Nocera, Aku Kagari, and now it's time to finally head back to Hogwarts as we look at the brightest witch of her time, Hermione Granger. Now, listen, I'm gonna be real with you for a moment here. And I understand this isn't going to be popular with everyone. In fact, I'm going to warn you right now that if you don't want to hear about sensitive topics, about human rights, about death of the author, this might be an episode you'll want to skip. No matter how you look at it, you can't examine Harry Potter as a franchise, or Hermione Granger as a character, without at least a tacit acknowledgement of JK Rowling, the woman behind the franchise. And the more you look at anyone, the more faults you find. In some people, these faults are forgivable. They're part of what makes that person who they are. It makes them more human. But sometimes what you find is the very opposite. Sometimes that is something that makes you sick to your stomach. It keeps you up at night. That makes you rethink your entire childhood. I cannot, in good conscience, look at Hermione Granger without acknowledging the harm, the hate, and the misinformation that JK Rowling has spread both intentionally and unintentionally as it regards the trans and now the Aro Ace community. People that grew up seeing themselves in her characters. People who found an escape in her work. I'm not here to have a debate about her or her views. But I cannot look at Hermione without at least acknowledging what's going on. And with as foundational as Hermione is to witches in modern fiction, I can neither simply ignore the character and move on. So, I chose to do two things with today's episode. Firstly, we'll be focusing solely on the movie interpretation of Hermione. For while Joanne may have written her, it's Emma Watson, an ally of the community, who truly brought her to life. Secondly, while I believe this is still a character worth analyzing and an episode worth making, it's not my episode to do. If you watch us over on Twitch, you'll be familiar with our host today. So I'd like to introduce you to Mason Crystal. Hello. We're not going to make a huge deal about this. We're just going to roll right into it. So, as Kren might say, grab your fluxweed, knotgrass, lacewing flies, leeches, horn of a bicorn, boomslang skin, and a bit of hair. Let's get in to Hermione Granger.
Oh, are you doing magic? Let's see then.
Where do you even begin with Hermione Granger? 7 books, 8 movies, a theme park, and even a stage play. It's a lot. But as Kren mentioned, we're sticking to the films for this analysis. And yes, that's still 8 full-length movies, so to keep things focused, we'll draw most heavily from Sorcerer's Stone, or Philosopher's Stone if you have free healthcare. Hermione was born to a Muggle family and discovered her magical nature just in time to get her acceptance letter from Hogwarts. Right out the gate, on the Hogwarts Express no less, she's fixing glasses with Oculus Reparo like she's been casting spells since preschool. She's sorted into Gryffindor immediately because, well, let's be real, she's a protagonist. Slytherin is for evil people, Ravenclaw's full of elitist nerds, and Hufflepuff is where you won't send everyone else. Any major character was always going to end up in Gryffindor. From the start, Hermione shows an insane aptitude for magic. Outside of broomstick flying and divination, she basically excels at everything. Sure, she's a little extra. Snape called her an insufferable know-it-all. Yeah, fair. But she quickly bonds with Harry and Ron, forming one of the most iconic trios in all of fiction. Despite Ron being an utter tool during the whole Victor Crumb situation, their friendship survives everything, from trolls in the dungeon to near-death encounters with dark wizards. Throughout the series, Hermione botched a Polygos potion and became a catgirl, accidentally. Time traveled to take extra classes, which is either extremely noble or absolutely unhinged. Battled Dark Lords and Death Eaters on an annual basis. Knocked the ever-loving taste out of Draco Malfoy. And yeah, dropped out of school to go Horcrux hunting like a magical Lara Croft. She's tactical, clever, and capable as hell. Her biggest weakness, though? Ending up with Ron. But hey, worse fates have been handed to better women. So, now that we've brushed up on her magical resume, let's ask the real question. How does Hermione Granger stack up against the Paladin Order? Hermione Granger is no slouch. More than any witch we've looked at this year, she has a compendium of spells to choose from. The Wicked Witch could throw fireballs and fly. Bayonetta could... Bayonetta didn't need as many spells because she has guns and thighs that could crush concrete, but Luz and Akko, they're peanuts in comparison to Hermione's magical menu. Let's break her stuff down into offensive spells and utility spells. Offensive spells: Expelliarmus, Petrificus Totalis and Immobilis, Stupefy, Confundo, Bombarda and Reducto, Obliviate, Lacarnum Inflammari and Incendio, and Opugno. Right off the bat, Hermione has a slew of non-lethal spells to deal with encroaching paladins. Confundo could send a paladin shot wide, Expelliarmus could send our weapons flying, Stupefy could send the paladin flying, and, just for good measure, Petrificus Totalis to keep them from chasing her. We might be able to survive her fire spells with the right kind of vestments. Not sure if we should go heavy vestments to resist the actual force of the attacks, but maybe white vestments to hopefully shrug off the spell entirely. I don't know. Gonna have to play this one by ear. Now, I am a little concerned with both Bombarda and Reducto. Side note, am I the only one that notices a lot of really redundant spells? Both seem to be decent damage dealers, but no more than a strong firearm. For instance, we see Hermione use Bombarda to open Sirius' cell door. Impressive, but it's not like it blew the door off its hinges and across the room or something. Mostly it just seemed to break the masonry of the castle where the door lock meets it. So, roughly speaking, we're looking at something on the level of a shotgun breaching slug. Impressive, but, Paladins have actual shotguns. Opugno seems, perhaps good for distracting? I mean, if even Ron escaped unharmed, then it can't be that bad. No, the spell I'm most worried about is Obliviate. Memory charms, wipes, enchantments, those things disturb me on a deep, personal level. Our memories are what make us who we are. Without them, we're not us. The very act of altering or erasing them is a violation on the deepest level of our personhood. And Hermione figured it out without much effort. The only bright side I see is that it's not combat-friendly. She has to hold it, concentrate for it to work. Utility spells. Reparo, Lumos and Lumos Solem, Aloha Mora, Protego Totalum and Salvia Hexia, Wingardium Levio-SAA, Repello Muggletum, Hominum Revelio, and General Apparition. Now, this is where she really shines. If Hermione's had time to prepare, and she usually has, she's nearly untraceable. Invisible tent, hex wards, teleportation. She'd be a nightmare for witch hunters. It seems like Apparition only works when she has the time to concentrate, so mid-battle is probably out for her, though we do see Death Eaters utilize it in combat, so it's not off the table. Not completely sure how we deal with it, other than keeping her distracted and acting quickly before she can jump. Alohomora has obvious advantages if she's on the run, giving her access to hiding places and infiltrating locations. Once she's there, her wards would make it nearly impossible to find her. She'd be invisible. Untrained paladins wouldn't even be able to approach her, much less apprehend her. And if we tried to set a trap to bring her to us, well, there's no way to hide when she has Hominum Revelio. If we have Hermione on the back foot, however, in active combat, then we have a pretty decent chance, but clearly, if she's hiding, it's going to take a master witch hunter to track her down. Next, let's talk about that wand of hers. Vinewood, 10 3/4 inches with a dragon heartstring core. For most of the series, it seems plain. Remove the wand, remove her power. And honestly, that's still viable, but there's a slight caveat. In Half-Blood Prince, she fires off Confundo at an unsuspecting keeper without her wand. And that's not the only time. Remember those little birds she shot at Ron? Wandless. Now, I truly suspect there's a complexity level to the spells she can use without a wand, but since I don't know what that level is, I need to advise responding paladins to be aware. Removing the wand won't remove the threat. We're not done, though. For as much crap as I give her about not exactly being a jock, there's one scene that shows how much of a physical badass Hermione can be. No, not that one. Love that one, but no, not that one. It's actually later in that same movie. Here, at the Whomping Willow. 3 things happen in this scene that impress me about Hermione. First, she tanks a hit from the Whomping Willow straight to the gut. Then, after tanking that hit, she holds on to the branch while it's swinging wildly. And lastly, but definitely most impressively, she catches and lifts Harry Potter with one hand. First off, let's examine that tree branch hitting her. Emma Watson is 5'5" in real life. The whole Harry Potter cast was short as heck. So the UK average for a 13-year-old girl at about 5'3" sounds reasonable. That's about 160 centimeters. Using her as a ruler, we can estimate the distance she covers in the scene where she's clinging onto the branch of the Whomping Willow. In about 2 seconds, she covers 13.2 meters, which means she's traveling at a speed of 23.76 kilometers per hour, or about 14.75 miles per hour. I see no reason the branch would be going any slower when it hits her, so that means she's tanking a thick branch at about 15 miles per hour straight to the gut. But what does that even mean? Well, again, using Hermione as a ruler, we can estimate the branch itself is about 16 meters long. If we simplify and assume it's solid wood from end to end, it'll weigh about 144 kilograms, or about 317 pounds. I'll skip the math here, I know you're disappointed, but when I crunch the numbers, Hermione's getting hit with roughly 9,517 newtons of force. For context, Mike Tyson's punch force was registered at about 5,600 newtons. She's tanking roughly double the punch strength of the baddest man on the planet, straight to her gut. Actually, it's much closer to the punching strength of an adult male gorilla. Then, fresh off getting that blow to her midsection, she clings to that branch and refuses to let go even while it's swinging her wildly. But, my favorite part? She swings just past Harry, grabs him with one freaking hand, and lifts him off the ground. Look, her arm is curled. She's not just dragging. And even if she was just dragging, somehow she avoided having her arm popped right out of the socket. Now, Daniel Radcliffe is also roughly 5'5", maybe a little bit shorter. I told you the cast was short. And the average weight for a UK boy at 13 years old is about 121 pounds. That means Hermione was curling 121 pounds. According to the website strengthlevel.com, when it comes to curling dumbbells, an intermediate male lifter can do about 52 pounds. Anything over 113 is considered elite. So, there you have it. Despite everything I thought I knew about Hermione, she not only is a dangerous foe with her wand, but she can tank a gorilla punch. How many Hermiones do you think we'd need to beat one gorilla? And she can curl 13-year-old boys. Hermione is smart, tactical, ridiculously good under pressure. She can hide better than anyone I've looked at in all of Monster Menagerie. And to top it off, she's apparently a tank. A tank that frickin' lifts. Paladins might have their work cut out for them on this one. I'm a Mason at the Paladin Archives. That means the brave men, women, and NBs of the Order come to me for information on the targets they're hunting. Sometimes that means double-checking if Akkas are allergic to silver. Sometimes it means explaining how to extricate a blood ale from someone's plumbing. But one thing they all have in common is the Paladin threat level. Threat level is a ranking from 1 to 6 that tells Paladins in a succinct way just how dangerous a foe is. Now, technically, the scale actually goes up to 10, but 7 through 10 are more like hypothetical threats. Anything on that level would be far beyond what the Order could hope to handle, so wouldn't be much of a point in even telling people about it. Now, when it comes to Hermione, she is dangerous if you give her a chance to prepare. She's a thinker. I didn't mention her potion-making skills in the previous section because I'm not sure how viable they are in combat, but between Polyjuice Potion and her healing tinctures, she's set for evading capture. But that's the thing. Her actual threat level? It's a little hard for me to calculate. I can say this much for sure. If Hermione is in hiding, we'll have a hell of a time finding her. She's not going to be living a glorious lifestyle in hiding, but she can certainly survive on the run indefinitely. The whole point of the Paladin threat level, however, is to let responding Paladins know how dangerous a threat is. And I'm just not sure with Hermione. How likely are you to get hurt or die fighting her? Not likely. How hard would it be to actually capture her? Damn near impossible. So where does that put me? It's hard, but I'm gonna have to go with my gut. Hermione Granger, threat level 2. White vestments recommended. Disarm the target as soon as possible to limit magical potential. Utilize flashing lights and other sensory attacks to disrupt concentration and prevent escape. Standard anti-heretic protocol. Disorient and disrupt. If contained, utilize magnetic locks with electronic interfaces. Alright, let's finish up the last bit of paperwork here. What is her witchcraft type? As a refresher, the Order recognizes 3 types of witches. Pure, They take their power from nature, less powerful but no threat to their souls. Covenant. Utilizing a book or artifact, these witches part with a sliver of their soul each time they use magic. Hellborn. These witches have sold their very soul to demons and reap the benefit with the strongest magic we know of. Given that Hermione can act without a wand, and I see no evidence of dealing with supernatural forces, I can only conclude that Hermione Granger is a pure witch. Well, that was a bit emotional. The Harry Potter franchise has had a special place in my heart since I was a child. I remember going on a first date to see one of the movies. But over the years, well, things change. I kind of dreaded this episode, put it off, but this month is special to me. If I plan this right and you're watching when the video debuts, it's my birthday. Me, Crystal. And even though I could have just ignored her, Hermione is a keystone witch in fiction. So I chose to look, not at the creator of Hermione, but to the woman who truly brought her to life, Emma Watson. I'm sorry if this episode was a little more uncomfortable than you're used to. Trust me, it wasn't a picnic on my end either. But at a certain point, we all have to determine what we feel is right and stand for it. I don't know if you'll see me next month. Kren might be back. But I'm glad to finally show up for more than just an awards show. If you enjoyed the episode, please, I'd appreciate it a lot if you could give us a like and a subscribe. We work very hard on this series and it eats up a lot of our time. A nice little comment or a thumbs up would mean the world. Well, I suppose it's back to my books. We still have that promised Into the Archives to maybe put out one day. But until that happens, keep your eyes peeled. You never know what's hiding out there. Or who.
Back again, Crystal. I see that you, like so many before you, have discovered the delights of the Harry Potter franchise. I trust by now you realize what it does. But remember this, Crystal. This franchise gives us neither knowledge nor truth. Men have wasted away in front of it, even gone mad. It does not do to dwell on dreams and forget to live. Remember that.